Welcome to LaQuita's Toolbox, where we deliver relevant content in the form of tools that empower entrepreneurs to elevate personally and professionally. Good is only good until greater is envisioned. You know there's another level in you. Here we discuss the tools to get you there. Lean in as LaQuita and her guests present you with strategies and insight for unlocking your full potential to realize your boldest dreams.
Welcome back to another amazing episode of LaQuita's Toolbox. I am your host, LaQuita Mondley, and it is a fantastic day in the Lord, you guys. I know I'm excited today because I have an amazing guest in the studio with me today. I want to introduce her and have you guys give her a very warm welcome in the LaQuita's Toolbox community, none other than Miss TyShaundra. And TyShaundra is a tax accountant and podcast host. And the name of her show is Who God Says. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in this broadcast. But right now, what I'd like for you guys to do is take a moment to hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. And let's make sure we get today's episode out into the hands of as many people as possible. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. Consider hitting that subscribe button, ringing those notification bells so that you can receive notification when new episodes of LaQuita's Toolbox drop on Tuesday mornings at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time. Ms. TyShaundra, welcome to the show today, ma'am. How are you?
Hi. I am well.
Good
How are
deal.
you?
You know what? I'm doing all right. I could complain about quite a few things, but I ain't gonna complain today. I'm gonna tell the Lord, thank you. This is the
Thank
day
you,
that you
Lord.
have made. I'm trying to rejoice and be glad in it.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
Amen. So look, tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Ooh, who am I? I am TyShaundra in all my glory.
You'd be like,
I
enough
tried to
said
fight
right
it.
there.
Yeah, like I tried to fight it for so long. I wanted to be everything else but TyShaundra.
Oh no.
I did. I didn't like my name. I just didn't want to be TyShaundra. I was like, what is this mess? This is a whole mess right here. That old mess. Uh, I wanted to be everything else. I wanted to be called anything else but that name.
Mm,
Yeah, God had to make sure he put that on, explain to me what that was,
okay.
why he gave me that name. Um, I am the oldest of 5 that was raised by my dad. So I was the little mommy in the house. Um, then I modeled after my father, like with everything, how his mannerisms, his characteristics, everything. And I became the little man. And as I got older, had babies, got married, got divorced, um, started a business. I'm a tax accountant. I have a tax and bookkeeping practice called Emerald Services. So all of our services are online now. We're virtual due to the pandemic, but
All right.
that's all right. That's all right. And I opened other businesses as well. So when I was running from that name, God had to sit me down and show me there was a reason I gave you this name,
Mm,
TyShaundra,
mm.
strong, godly leader. There was a reason I gave you that name.
Yes.
That was the meaning. That's the meaning of my
Come on.
name.
Come on now. Name set destiny. Come on now. Let's talk about it.
But I ran from it. But hey, now that I know that me and God has had this conversation and he made sure, I couldn't pout about it anymore. I embrace it.
Hmm.
I submitted to him and
Okay.
I completely understand why, especially going through everything that I went through. I understand why I had to have that name spoken over me. Yeah.
That's amazing. Listen, guys, how many of you out there in the LaQuita's Toolbox audience have struggled with your name in some
Mhm.
shape, form, or capacity, whether it was your first name, your last name slash surname for those of you that aren't American,
Mhm.
or your middle name. Have any of you ever struggled with that part of who you are, your name? Because it's amazingly significant to understanding who we are in Christ
Yeah.
and why we're here, what He created us to do. So if you have that struggle or you've had that struggle, what I'd like you to do, wherever you are listening to this broadcast, go ahead and reach out to us. And if you don't mind sharing, share with the community about your struggle with your name and what you've done to overcome it. Or if you are still yet working through that, let's talk about that. And maybe someone in our community, and even in this conversation, we can bless you with some tips, tools, or strategies that can help you grow past that struggle. And you can reach out to podcast at LaQuitaMonley.com. Again, that's podcast at LaQuitaMonley.com. And let us know about and share with us a bit about your story and your journey with understanding your name,
Mhm.
accepting your name, and being empowered by your name.
Yeah.
So you had that struggle with your name. The Lord took you through a process. He allowed you
Mhm.
to go through a growth process where you can better understand why your name had to be TyShaundra. And
Mhm.
on the end of that, where you sitting in that space now,
Mhm.
um, how much of that process, how much of the things that you gleaned out of that process are you using for the success in your spiritual and natural
All of it? Absolutely all of it. All of it. I've always been this no nonsense type person, and
life?
I think all of that came from my dad, and I'm actually learning that it's a masculine trait to see things black and white,
Mm,
and, so I picked that up from my dad. It was like, either you're all in or you're all out.
mm,
Um, it's always been black and white. You do it this way or not at all.
mm,
Um, and that kind of it traveled, it went through my whole life with parenting and marriage and relationships and business and pretty much everything. So
mm,
so, um, just looking at who I was and who I'm supposed to be, it's like
mhm.
those traits, even though, men sometimes, I ain't gonna say sometimes, a lot of times have problems with it. That was just the core of it,
Yeah.
and I had to be refined, and I
Mhm,
had to be polished and molded, um, but that core of it was it's absolutely needed. I'm
mhm,
not timid about a lot of things that people are timid about. I'm not,
real
um,
good.
I don't really have the kind of, and I'm gonna say care, I
Mhm,
don't care a lot about a lot of things that other people care about. It doesn't bother me. It's not, I don't spend my time focusing on things that regular people focus on. I could care
mm,
less what's on social media. I don't care
mhm.
whose baby daddy is whose baby daddy.
Girl,
It's
tell
just
me about it.
it's a lot. And so I know that I frustrate a lot of people, but that core had to be developed in me
Mhm.
to, again, it had to be refined because I have a mouth. That mouth is
Oh my.
piercing. Oh my God. That mouth, oh my God. If God did not work on my mouth, I don't think I would be sitting here right now. Like that mouth. And I just thought I was doing everyone a service of letting you know what I thought you needed to know, no matter how you felt about it. I mean, now I feel like, yes, there you should still be honest and you should
Mhm,
still tell people what they need to hear, but there's
mhm.
a way to express that.
Yes.
There's a
Yes.
way, but, that's part of refining.
Come on now, let's talk about that refinement process. How many of y'all need to be refined in the LaQuita's Toolbox audience today? Or
Yes.
those that may be listening for the very first time. I can identify with that because my God,
Yep.
my mouth. My husband and he'll tell me that today. So let me just be transparent. He'll tell me that today. It's like, did you have to say that? And I'm thinking, do you know how many filters that went through before it came out? Lord have
Right.
mercy. I'm gonna have to go back in my prayer closet for more filters. But
For
you're
more
right.
things.
You're
Yep.
right. It's e- even when I'm even when I'm talking about that in the form of what is emotional intelligence or what is effective communication, I go back to what what pops up in my mind as a scene from the Cosby Show. And in this scene, it is when Vanessa brought Dabney home
Mm.
and
Okay.
wanted them to accept him. Dabney was a great fellow. Vanessa, however, was shaky.
Mm.
And so as they got to know Vanessa, as they got to know Dabney, their irritation with Vanessa was like tenfold. But they also knew she was gonna drop Dabney. But nevertheless,
Mhm.
they're at the dinner table. And Cliff gives them a scenario. He told Dabney, hey, think of your very favorite meal. Your very favorite meal. And Dabney told him what that meal was. I can't remember what the meal is, but it was a great meal.
Mhm.
And he said, now imagine me cooking that up to perfection, just like you want it. And then taking my trash can lid, putting that food on the trash can lid, and then serving you that food. It's all about how you do it.
Mm.
Presentation, tone, everything. And so that seeing that as a kid and even as a young adult, it was just haha funny. But as I matured, that scene makes so much sense
Yeah.
and can be applied in every way. And that's what I saw when I heard you talking about refinement. And
Mm.
even, for those of you that might be saying, yeah, but you got to tell the truth. I ain't lie. You're right.
Yep.
You trying to help them and bless them by telling them something because you recognizing something and you got a solution to the problem. How you delivering it matters. It
Yes.
didn't matter that that meal was perfect, what they wanted and what their body needed. You gave me, a $200 meal, a $300-400 meal, however, the value of that meal is, and you put it on a nasty trash can. I don't want that. Turn that
The
trash
value is
can
no
lid
longer
upside
there.
down and let all that go in the can.
And
Like,
yep. The
yeah,
value is no longer there.
it's no longer there. So listen, y'all, I hope y'all taking notes. Miss TyShaundra has been blessing us. If you're new to the toolbox, let me tell you how we operate and how we flow. We get something to write with and to write on. So that when these tools are blessing our hearts and minds, we write that down because that won't forget. We forget. As
Mhm.
humans, we flaw, we forget. But when you write that stuff down, you notate it, it don't forget. And you can always go back and learn more. But even in addition to that, go on and hit that save button so you could come back, rewind this episode, and watch it as much as you need to, or listen to it as much as you need to in order to absorb these tools and then learn how to implement them.
Yeah.
So, you're walking through that refinement process,
Mm.
you know, like those of us that are real, if you spiritually deep in this place,
Mhm.
she was going through a period. She had
Mm.
done been delivered. Now she walking in her deliverance. Right. She walking in her sanctification of her mouth. Yes, you.
Yep.
Oh Lord, it's like David said he had to put a gate about his lips. That means his mouth
Mm.
fly too. I mean,
Yes.
come on now. It was fly.
Yeah. It got to a point where my sister told me the only time she would call and ask for any advice or anything was when she knew there was nobody else to call.
Oh my. Come on. How did that make you feel?
I was like, you should have just been called me. What you mean nobody else to call? I still didn't get it. But my cousin told me she was going through something with a guy, and then she said, I told her, I don't even remember. She asked me a question, I gave her an answer. She was like, "Do you even have feelings?" That one I remember. And so I was like, "Oh, I'm human. I have feelings, but
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't have said it like that. That wasn't, I don't think she liked that." That was a little clicking moment. That was
Yeah.
when it was like,
I
"Oh,
can
the light bulb went off."
I
Okay.
can imagine your face being like, you know how you look when you in like a light bulb moment? Like
Mhm. I was like, "Okay, okay,
maybe
okay,
that wasn't the best way to go about that.
okay." And then it was crazy after that, um, my pastor asked, well, his wife at the time, she asked me to, help with the praise dance at the church. And I
Sorry.
filtered that answer, had to be 72 times before. That's when I really started to filter, like, to sit and filter. At first, it was like you were talking to a mute. It's like, "Did you hear what I said?"
It's like
Um,
I'm processing how to respond.
I
Give
was
me a
like,
minute.
um,
Oh my
uh,
goodness. It's look, y'all, for those of you that don't go to church, you gotta understand. Let me give you some background. So, but you a lot of my followers are creatives, whether
Mhm,
you're in the music industry or whatever, you some type of creative. It ain't no different in church than it is outside of church. As creatives, we tend to be a little tender
mhm. Yeah.
and a whole lot of, I won't say a whole lot of crazy, but a whole lot of different. Now you got a group of them,
Yep.
and she is a no nonsense person that has just learned I just can't say everything the way my first thought to say, I probably should think it twice.
Yeah.
And now she's being asked to work with a bunch of emotional people.
Yes.
Did your
Yes.
heart skip a
And they
beat?
were all teenagers.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
They were all teenagers. And I'm like,
In this generation of, well, this is my truth.
"Mhm,
You might have wanted to say something towards their little truth.
mhm."
What you do? Like,
Oh my god.
what
So
did you do?
I was like, okay, the first thing that came out was excuse because I was like, well, I don't have any formal training to do. I'm not formal, formal. I don't know anything about. And she was like, oh no, it's just like you're just expressing yourself and let the music hit you and whatever God gives you, you just move that way. And I was like, but they can do that without me, you know. They don't need me to do that. And I'm like, in my head, what kept popping up was, "Oh, no, ma'am, you did cheer, you did gymnastics, you did dance in high school," and I'm sitting in the back of my head like, "Shut up. I don't
So
have
you
any."
have some training, is what I hear. That's what I hear.
I'm like, "Shut up.
Experience.
I didn't go to Juilliard dance school or none of this. I'm I'm not doing this. I can't do this." And then she was like, her daughter, "Oh, well, she does ballet and everything, so she can help you out." And I was like, "But why don't she do it? And then you have someone else that, it was a whole bunch of excuses. The excuses came out first. And then she was like, "Well, how about this? How about we just go to my house? We bring all the girls and you just see what comes out." And I was like, "Okay." And the whole time I sat there and I let her see what came out, like she was doing it. And I was like, "Yeah, that looks nice. Yep. Yep, that looked nice. Yep, that looked nice." And I'm just going through my head like, I wanna say this, but I can't say that. I can't say that. No, I can't say that. Oh, she gonna put me out her house if I say that. It was just the whole time I sat in a chair and I watched and I had to keep my mouth closed. That was hard.
Hard. I understand.
So
I
hard.
understand.
So
Like
hard. Like,
it is. So people, listeners, listen. We're not saying this is easy. As
mm-mm,
TyShaundra just said, this part of your growth,
mhm,
this part of your growth, and this is important for every aspect of your life, personally and professionally. Your growth in knowing what to say, when to say, and how to say it in order to effectively communicate to your intended audience, right? And so here with this, she had two intended audiences. One is the leader over it, i.e., supervisor, i.e., customer, as it
mhm,
were, and she had the group of youth, which again could be, end user of your
mhm.
product. If you have a B2B product, your end user, what are they thinking? What are they saying? How are they feeling? Are they receiving what I'm, really truly receiving what it is I'm trying to say? Because this is all about, our growth, and our growth involves learning how to effectively communicate, recognizing it's a problem, and what we are willing to give and do in order to fix that problem and implement the things that we've learned. And so you got these audiences, and I love your response better than mine. My daughter, so my daughter is a praise dancer, and full transparency, I got two left feet,
Mm,
but my daughter does not. She's wonderful.
mm,
She could do choreography, all that. Imagine the style and the designs of the garments, everything. And so we were in Germany, and she was over the dance ministry, and I was the adult over her.
mm,
And it was kids. So there arose a situation. Won't go into the situation. At the end of the day, what the situation ended up being was a parent was unhappy with my decision not to allow their child to perform that Sunday.
mhm.
And the reason was the child had not been to enough practices
Yeah.
to know everything correctly. And so she went and told the pastor, and they called me to the office and asked me about it. And I told him my reason. He told me what she said. She was sitting there, and I turned and said, "You need to grow up. Where else in the world can you participate in any activity and you have not been involved in the preparation for said activity? Make
Mm,
it make sense."
mm.
Because at this point, we're all professionals.
Right.
Like, we're all professionals. Got a lot of letters behind our names, done paid a lot of money for these degrees. Why are
Mhm.
we having this conversation? That didn't go well with nobody. Like, the look on, I didn't care about the look on her face at all. I was still growing, TyShaundra. I was still growing.
Yep.
And the look on the pastor's face and his wife was like, "Wow, you just said that like that." Hmm. I did. For no, don't do that, y'all.
Don't do that. Don't
Don't
do
do
that.
that. Do
Don't do
what
that.
TyShaundra did. Don't do what LaQuita did. Do what TyShaundra did.
Well, sometimes you have to learn that you don't always have to speak, and then you just have to discern when is that time? When is it that
Right.
time when
Right.
this is a time where I should actually hold my tongue. Do
Hmm.
not say anything. Um, I know a lot of times people might feel like they're not taking up for themselves, or they're not
Right.
speaking their truth, or they're just letting somebody run over them. Sometimes it's wise to not say anything,
Mm, mm. Yeah, I agree.
which is
A
hard.
1000%. It's hard, y'all. It's hard, but the payoff is great in the end.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
payoff is great in the end. I mean, if we can honestly assess right now, and you guys, again, don't hesitate to reach out to us on your favorite podcast listening platform. Let us know in the comments, because you can leave comments on those platforms. Let us know in the comments what you think about today's conversation. Give us some scenarios. But if you were like, "Oh, LaQuita, ain't enough space in the comments," podcast at laquitamonley.com. go ahead and shoot me that email. And while you shoot me that email, you could go out to my website as well and join our podcast community where we continue in these types of discussions. Because again, the purpose of LaQuita's Toolbox is to provide you tools that are easily implementable that you can use to help yourself grow personally and professionally. And TyShaundra is blessing us today with some tools on maturity and improving and growing in the space of effective communication. And right now, what she said is sometimes the wisdom is just to shut up. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. And that's amazing. Like, let's and talk a little bit more about why being quiet in those times can be actually more beneficial, and how do we know when to be quiet?
I can give you an example that actually happened with me on my job. I'm not going to say where I work because I'm about to talk about the people.
Go ahead, girl. Go ahead. I shouldn't have said it was in Germany because that person is an active listener. She may feel differently when she hears this podcast.
Well, but I'm only going to say the truth. So
go ahead.
Every year we have a yearly bonus, and there was 3 supervisors who kind of get with the department head and they talk about everybody and how they did and what's their interaction with, what their interaction was with each employee underneath them, and just how do they feel we did overall.
Mm-hmm.
There was one supervisor in particular who did not care for me. And I don't know her reasoning. I just know that I will say every time she said something in a meeting that I knew was incorrect, I would correct her.
That would probably be the reason, but go ahead.
Well, because if you have a team of people and you're supposed to be the person that they look to say, hey, I got a question about this, and she's giving an answer and the answer is incorrect, yeah, I have to correct it because then somebody's going to do something incorrect.
Correct.
Right? Correct. So I will say that every time she said something that was incorrect, I would correct her. So they had this meeting. It was basically going to determine what our bonus was.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, yes, she took issue, and I didn't qualify for my bonus that year.
Oh, my.
Right.
Oh, my.
And so when the department head, we had a personal one-on-one meeting, and we talked, and they were like, well, there was one person in particular that really had an issue. And because we didn't interact with you as much during this quarter,
Mm-hmm.
we had her to go off of it based on that. And so I was like, oh, okay. So what I wanted to say was, can you pull up the transcripts of these meetings when she's telling these employees the wrong information about them doing their reviews and everything, and where that information was corrected? Who was that information corrected by? Right? Can you pull up the review forms where she's reviewed accounts that I've done and purposely put things into the review that was not there, and who corrected? I did, right? But again, it wasn't my job to correct it. It was the department's head's job to correct it, right?
Right.
So even though she was doing things she was not supposed to, I was also doing things I was not supposed to. So during this one-on-one, I just let the department head talk, and I didn't say anything. I was like, okay. I was, oh my God, steaming mad, but I was like, okay. So I got off that meeting and I clocked out. I was like, I'm done. I am done. And when I get into my venting stage, I go in my room, I fuss to myself, or I might go in my car and drive and fuss. And people think I'm listening to the radio, but I'm fussing and saying everything I needed to say. And the craziest thing was, I was on a pilot program where the job that she has was basically set up by me.
All right. Come
Which
on.
I didn't say, you know what, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even have this job. I didn't say any of that. I just said, okay. I went on my little venting. I was driving in my car, said everything that I wanted to say. It was just me, God, and the radio. And so I took 2 days off of work, went back to work. I was in my little stage where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do the bare minimum. I'm doing what I'm getting paid for. I'm gonna
And
clock
no
in
more.
when y'all tell me to clock in. That's it. I'm doing the bare minimum. Then the department head started seeing a decline in things that I would do. And she wanted to have another meeting with me. She had another meeting and she was like, I was gonna put you up for a promotion. And I was like, oh no, I don't think I want to do that. She was like, okay, well, just let me know, whenever you're ready, we'll put you on that path and we'll try to get. I was like, okay, no problem. Not even, let me see, I don't even think it was another pay period. The person who had an issue with me, she couldn't work anymore.
Wow.
She couldn't work anymore. Nobody knew what happened. There was no PSA or anything. They were just like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
she's going to be out for a while. We don't know how long she's going to be out. We need somebody to help fill her spot.
Because you said, who? You do what it is. You. Because not me.
So during the time when I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs and say, she didn't do this, she did this wrong, she didn't do this, check this, I didn't say anything. When things came full circle, I had the opportunity to actually be promoted past her position. I didn't take that. And now I work in her position. But if I'd have went off and said everything I wanted to say,
none of those opportunities would have came to you.
yeah, because that is not attractive at all. It's not attractive to anyone in business. It is not. Now, having a paper trail, having a record for something that's detrimental to the business, that's attractive.
Very
But
much so.
but if it's a tiff in between two employees, nobody wants to hear, well, she said this and she did that and she did this. You're not showing accountability. You're not showing that you're capable for any growth within the company. You're not showing that you could be responsible for anyone else in the company. So that's not attractive. So I held my tongue and yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So look, y'all, there was so much blessings in that story. I'm gonna, summarize it real quick. We can find ourselves in situations where we're doing our very best. A matter of fact, we're going above and beyond what we are assigned to do. And then through no fault of our own of what we can see, there is an attack, whether it's on our character, the quality of our work, our integrity. We've just been passed over and done wrong. Whatever the case may be, you may find yourself in that position. And the takeaway from what TyShaundra just said and her growth moment, because this is the moment, this is the test. That was the test.
Yes,
And in
definitely.
the test, we got a growth moment. We got to glean something from it. What did we learn? In that moment, her decision to say nothing resulted in 2 promotion opportunities. One promotion opportunity to sit in the seat of the person who was actually giving her the problem. 2, be promoted above that person's position. And why did that happen? Because the quality of her work was always impeccable. But more importantly than the quality of her work, as Dr. King said, the content of her character came out in this conversation with the head supervisor, in her just saying, okay, I'm going to, as we say, take this to the head. I'm just going to,
Yeah.
Let this ride. I'm going to absorb this blow right here. I'm not going to say anything. I'm still going to do what it is you're paying me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what happens. And what happened is the 2 opportunities for promotion. So there are significant times to be
Yep.
quiet. I
Yep.
also heard in that story, keep a paper trail. Listen, y'all, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are a W-2 earner, C-suite exec, whatever the case may be,
Yep.
keep a paper trail. Keep a paper trail. Contrary clients for our entrepreneurs, contrary clients, vendors, collaborative partners, keep a paper trail
Yep.
so that when these situations arise, it's not if, it's when, because it's going to happen.
What happened?
When these situations arise, you have the ability to protect yourself and defend yourself if needed. But
Yep.
the important part is to discern when I need to do that versus when I need to just say, okay,
Yep.
got you, and keep moving forward. And so that was an amazing, amazing story right there, TyShaundra. And also, y'all, let me take a minute. Don't y'all forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Let's get this podcast out to as many people as possible, because these types of tools, these right here, what you just said in that story, in the last few minutes, that can change some people's lives.
Yeah.
Right there. That could change, because it's so simple, not easy to do,
Not easy.
not easy,
Mm-mm.
but real simple, and you can reap some great rewards from the simplest things, right?
Yep.
Look, this conversation is real good to me. So we've been diving into aspects of effective communication,
Mm-hmm.
knowing what to say, when to say, how to say it. Most importantly, understanding when to say nothing at all,
Yeah.
and the benefits that we can get from that. And so when you're looking at that, so let me ask you, at this point in your life, were you already excited about the meaning of your name?
No. At
Okay.
that point, I was kind of saying why. It was at that during that time God was saying, "This is your name, embrace it."
Mm,
There's a reason why I'm calling you by this name. And as
mhm,
a matter of fact, he called my name audibly 3
mm,
times.
mm.
And every time all I thought was Samuel. That's all I thought.
Come on now.
And I he called my name 3 times and I was just like, "But why? But why?" So I understood that there's a meaning there. There was a reason why. I still was not in the place where I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to accept everything that you've called, everything that you
Mhm.
said over me." I wasn't in acceptance right then.
Okay, okay.
No.
Come on, listen. But he
Yes,
called it
oh,
anyway.
he called it anyway.
He called it anyway, and you heard it.
I heard it 3 times, and I was sleeping, so that's another reason I was like,
Come on,
Lee, are you calling Samuel?"
for sure. For sure. Look, y'all, if y'all don't know the story of Samuel, for those of you who may not know that parable, just
Mhm.
go to Google and type in story of Samuel in the Bible. It's going to pop up. And
Yeah.
it's amazing, because he called his name 3 times. He recognized the voice, not the owner of the voice.
Mhm.
And then someone had to tell him.
Mm.
The leader had to tell him.
Yep.
The leader at that time is named for, and I'm summarizing this in a way that everybody can understand it, right?
Mhm.
The leader where Samuel was serving at the time, his name was Eli.
Mhm.
So he went, because he kept going to Eli to say, "What's up? You keep calling me. What
Yeah.
you want?" And Eli was like, "It is not me that is calling you.
Right.
It's the Lord. So this is what you do next time when you hear it.
Yeah.
Let your answer be different.
Speak, Lord.
Yes, speak,
Your
Lord.
servant
Because
is listening.
yes, thy servant is listening. How many of y'all are feeling that right now? Where you feel that the Lord is calling you to something greater. He's capturing your attention.
Mm.
Is your answer, speak, Lord? Thy servant is listening? Are we still at a place where we looking around like, who you talking to? Where this coming from?
Who this man? How
Who
about
is it? Waking me up out my sleep. I'm resting. And you call somebody calling me.
Mm-hmm.
It also in that story shows the significance because you know in the beginning of your story your dad played a significant role in your life, and so at this time in your life you probably either you still have someone in your life that is in that capacity, let's call it mentorship, like that
Mm-hmm.
that is mentoring you in your comparison in here. It's always a great idea. This life that we walk, we can't walk it alone.
Right.
We got to walk it with someone else. Samuel went to Eli.
Yep.
Who did you go to, TyShaundra? But more importantly, those in the listening audience, who do you go to? And if your answer is nobody, you got
Mm.
to find somebody and make sure they are the right somebody.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Come on now.
And, you know, the crazy thing is the voice that I heard, it was my dad's voice, but my dad had passed. So I
Mm,
knew it was the familiar part of that voice was like, that sounds like my dad. But
mm,
again, he had passed. So I
yeah.
knew it wasn't my dad. And
Hmm.
that's why my next reaction was, speak, Lord, your servant is listening.
Yeah.
Um, the person that I go to will be my pastor.
Hmm.
And he has always said, you know, I love you like you're my daughter, like you're my own daughter. And
Hmm.
at first I was like, okay, yeah, because he's a pastor. He gotta love all of us like that, you know. He's a
Right,
pastor.
right.
That's your job to do that. Sir, you better do your job. But um, but he has been such a resource with my
Yeah.
growth and with my walk with God.
Hmm.
I understand
Hmm.
he says, I love you like you're my daughter. I
Come.
understand it now.
Yes,
He
yes.
he has been so instrumental in helping me along. Um, he's been interpreting my dreams. He's
Hmm.
been which is mind blowing because I'm
Come
like,
on now.
"What? What?" Um, and then he basically lets me know because I'm a checks and balances type girl, and
Hmm.
God knows I don't wanna I used to think I was being annoying with my
Mm,
prayers saying, "Okay, but do you want me to do this? But do you want me to do this? But do you want me to do this? Is it like this? Is it like this?"
mhm,
And so, now I don't do that anymore, but I
mhm,
will, um he knows that I need some type of confirmation. He knows
mhm,
I'm one of those kids that I have always wanted to know that I was doing the right thing, doing it
mm,
the way I was supposed to do it,
yeah,
and having reassurance was always big for me. And
that's good.
my pastor, he has instrumentally used him as my reassurance.
Mhm,
He lives in a whole nother state now, and he would call me and say, um, "I'm so proud of you. You are definitely doing what God told you to do." And he'll
mm,
say something very specific, and I'll just be like,
mm,
"Oh, oh my God. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay."
yeah,
Sometimes we need that confirmation.
we do.
I'm a person that I definitely have to have confirmation. I'm I'm all in, but I need to know that I'm all in for the right thing.
Mm, yeah,
So
yeah,
you don't have to question whether I'm in or I'm out. I'm in.
mhm,
I just need to know that I'm in for the right thing or I'm
for the
doing
right
it
thing. Yeah,
the right way. Yep.
yeah, Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. All in, all in. Man, we can unbox so many different things today. TyShaundra, you're gonna have to come back in for like 2, 3 episodes. Usually I
Okay.
ask people to come back for one more. I'm asking you to come back for 2, 3 more because look, we out here trying to grow personally and professionally
Yep.
and unlocking the different components of effective communication, um, mentorship, having an ear to hear and receive.
Yep.
Right? It does you no good to have a mentor if you don't listen to them.
Mm, not at all.
None at all. None at all. It does you no good to just receive a boatload of information if we don't take the time to learn how to implement it and turn
Yes.
that information into wisdom, turn that knowledge into wisdom. And not, knowledge applied equals wisdom. Wisdom means I've taken what I've learned and
Hmm.
caused it to bear fruit in some way.
Yep.
In some way it has bear fruit for me and the people connected to me. And
Hmm.
I want to make sure we respect your time, but I had said that we was going to talk about Who God Says podcast. So
Yes.
that's why we got to come back, 2, 3 more times because some other stuff. But before we do wrap this up, go on to drop the plug for Who God Says podcast and let people know how they can connect with you.
Okay. So I am the host of Who God Says podcast. It's basically we're all on our spiritual journey, but we're
Mhm,
all real people and life happens. So
mhm,
how do we get through that as Christians, as people, period? Like, how do we get through that? If you're not a Christian, you still have standards. How do
mhm.
you live up to those standards and still go through everyday life, still go through boyfriends and cheating husbands and children acting crazy and people getting on your nerves at your job and you're late on your bills? How do we get through that and still stand on our principles? So that's what Who God Says is about. You can go to the website at whogodsays.com. You can see all of the past episodes. You can follow us on Instagram. What is it? It's X now, not Twitter. Um, TikTok, Facebook. We're all over on all that stuff. Who God Says. And you can send me an email if you would like to be a part of the show, or if there's anything that you feel like the church does not talk about that we should talk about. Send me an email at whogodsays@gmail.com. Yep.
Oh, you gonna get a bunch of emails on that one.
That's one of my biggest things. I know a lot of times church is too churchy and they don't want to talk about real life. So I
Mhm.
want to address everything.
Everything. Come on.
We just did an episode about sex addiction. Nobody talks
Mm.
about that in church.
Listen, come on now. Like, and one of the other things that they don't, like that popped in my head and about that, like sex addiction. But what the church also don't like to talk about a lot is women. We
Mm,
had a problem too.
yep.
A lot of us have been delivered from it, still going through it, but more importantly, because of outdated, was never right thinking
Mhm.
that we don't have those desires in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
do.
Yep.
We do. And we out here being predators. Oh, some of
On
these
the low.
yes, we have some of these poor defenseless brothers ain't never see it coming. And
Yeah,
marriage don't fix it.
does not. It's a
Does
Band-Aid.
not. It don't fix it. Look, I'm gonna listen to that one and we gonna talk about it. Look, Who God Says podcast, y'all.
Yep.
Go out to Who God Says
Mhm.
podcast.com, right?
Whogodsays.com.
WhoGodSays.com. Check out the podcast. Yours truly was a guest on the podcast.
Mhm.
We have a great episode. You can find that episode actually on my YouTube channel as well. If you look under my guest appearances, you'll see my appearance on the Who God Says podcast. Y'all going out there, hit them subscribe and like buttons for Who God Says. Connect with her on social media. I assure you, you will be blessed by the content that you receive. So, you got anything coming up where we can connect, support in any kind of way?
Ooh, child. The only thing I have coming up is more episodes. So you guys
Come
just
on.
look out for more episodes. I am stepping into ooh, a role that I don't want to say anything about that I'm very nervous about. So I would accept your prayers
Amen.
for
Amen.
strength and capacity to perform
Yeah.
in Jesus' name.
Amen. And we would definitely be praying and covering you, woman of God, as you prepare to step into this role. I'm going ahead and say it. The Lord has already prepared you. You just got to accept it and walk in it. Because let me just leave that right there for you.
Mm, yeah,
You are more than capable and more than ready.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Look, for those of you also that are listening, coming up on July 11th and 12th, and that's in less than 2 weeks, y'all, we
Mhm.
have the TV Media Tour. And it will be right here in Killeen, Texas. Come one, come all. The TV Media Tour has been curated to be a blessing to micro and small business owners. Where in this 2 days of workshops, not only will you understand the importance of community and collaboration, you will understand the importance and significance of digital media and effective digital media strategies. We will be having guests coming in from across the country teaching on an abundance of topics that is relevant to help you develop and grow your personal brand, monetization, and how to effectively enter into the digital marketing space with ads and having your brand seen on TV. You don't want to miss it.
Mhm.
July 11th and 12th, right here in Killeen, Texas. Go out to www.tvmediatour.com. Get registered. We want to see your amazing face in the place on those 2 days. And right now, we are currently running a special for if you want to come and just enjoy the workshops, $150 to come in and enjoy the workshops. If you want to leave with a professionally written press release, professional photos, magazine articles, and TV interviews, go on and upgrade that to our regular package. And that package is $450. Y'all, I'll see y'all at the TV Media Tour in July. Until next time, I am your host, LaQuita Montley. You guys be great and have an amazing rest of your day. Take care.